Her? Left behind in the swamp for almost 2 days. No way she survived. 32 hours later, as the team prepared to withdraw, a single gunshot echoed from the forest edge. An enemy sniper dropped right before pulling the trigger on the command group. And in the mud, they found a soaked cap with 3 faded letters. L.T. Lin. Sometimes the quiet ones always surprise you the most completely. Main character, Nguyen Lin, 27 years old, volunteer reserve soldier, small frame, black hair tied back, calm eyes, minimal communication. Just selected for the swamp survival and reconnaissance training team at Bravo Delta Base. Every morning she arrived early to check camouflage equipment, clean the training yard. Nobody asked her to. During meals, she usually sat alone, reviewing terrain maps and wind journals, handwritten. The male recruits joked around, "If she survives the swamp reconnaissance exercise, I'll change my name. Just put her on the perimeter. Let her learn how to call for help." When the team was assigned missions, Lin volunteered to lead the northern route, where grass was tall, mud deep, the most difficult path to navigate. The sergeant shrugged. Fine. Everyone has to learn their own lesson. But what they didn't see was how Lin prepared differently. While others packed standard gear, she modified her equipment, waterproofed her radio components, studied weather patterns for 3 days straight. "I watched her practice breath control behind the barracks," one soldier later admitted. 4-second inhale, 16-second hold, 8-second exhale, for hours. We thought she was weird. During weapons training, Lin never took the flashy shots. While others competed for fastest time, she focused on precision. One shot, one target, no wasted ammunition. "She's too slow," complained a corporal. "In real combat, speed matters more than perfection." Lin just smiled quietly. In real combat, you only get one chance to be right. The team dynamics were clear. The loud, confident soldiers got leadership roles. The quiet ones like Lin got support positions, observer duties, backup assignments. "She doesn't speak up enough," noted their instructor. "Leadership requires commanding presence." But Lin wasn't trying to command attention. She was studying patterns, wind direction, animal movement, sound travel across water, things that couldn't be learned from textbooks. During night exercises, while others used flashlights and made noise, Lin moved like a shadow. She understood that survival wasn't about being seen. It was about seeing without being seen. "I don't need to prove myself to them," she wrote in her journal. "I just need to be ready when it matters." The swamp training was designed to break soldiers. 36 hours in hostile terrain, limited supplies, simulated enemy contact. Most trainees worked in pairs for safety. Lin requested to go alone. "I don't need to fight for position. I just need to get close enough, quiet enough, to see what they can't see. Whether they believe me or not doesn't matter." Lin left the team at 4:10 a.m., carrying an SR-25 rifle, one set of hand-drawn maps, 2 protein bars, 1 water purification tube. By noon that day, nobody received additional signals from her. She didn't respond to any radio commands. A soldier said, "She gave up. Can't blame her. This exercise is too tough." 12 hours, then 18 hours passed. The team leader wouldn't let anyone go back to search, believing there wasn't clear enough danger. 24 hours. A border radar detected weak signals, thermal oscillations in the northwest edge area. The signal engineer determined not animals, could be optical equipment adjusting direction. But command still maintained orders. No course change, priority on main mission. The entire team continued forward, nobody knowing they were being watched. What they didn't realize was that Lin had found the perfect position, a small rise in the swamp, hidden by thick reeds, with clear sight lines to 3 different approach routes. She'd been tracking movement since hour 6, footprints that didn't match their team, broken branches at wrong angles, disturbed water patterns that suggested surveillance. "I saw them first," she later explained. 2 scouts, professional, not part of our exercise. They were mapping our movements, radioing coordinates to someone else. By hour 18, she'd identified the threat. A sniper team, positioned to intercept their extraction point. Real weapons, real intent. Her radio was working perfectly. She could have called for help, requested backup, asked for new orders. But any transmission would reveal her position. And her position was the only advantage they had. I had two choices, she reflected. Save myself by calling in, or save everyone by staying silent. She chose silence. Hour 24. The enemy sniper team moved into final position. Professional setup, ghillie suits, high-powered rifle, clear shots at the extraction zone. Lynn calculated wind speed, distance, target movement patterns. She had one advantage. They didn't know she existed. Hour 30. Hunger, thirst, muscle cramps. Normal soldiers would have compromised by now, made noise, shifted position, given themselves away. Lynn controlled her breathing, stayed motionless, waited. Hour 32. Her team finally reached the extraction point, walking directly into the killing zone. The enemy sniper acquired target. Index finger moved to trigger. Lynn had waited 32 hours for this moment. One shot, one chance to save her entire team. She didn't hesitate. I knew they thought I was lost, injured, or gave up. But I could see clearer than them. Every strange footprint in mud, every branch break that didn't match wind direction. I didn't answer, not because I couldn't hear, but because if I answered, my position would become the position where they'd be shot first. 32 hours since Lynn disappeared. The team began packing up, preparing to end the training exercise. The moment the team leader stepped out of the forest edge, a muzzle flash sparked from the reed beds. Crack, a single gunshot. An enemy sniper, simulated threat, was shot through his scope, dropped 18 meters from the team. He was the final hidden target. Everyone stood frozen. A hoarse voice crackled over radio. Target neutralized. Had been tracking team for 4 hours. Waited for wind change to get clean shot. A medic ran toward the gunshot. Found Lynn lying sideways, covered head to toe in mud, still maintaining firing position. The team leader stood silent. He approached, removed her cap, soaked through. Lynn spoke quietly. I only had 1 round left, but 1 round was enough. She was taken back to base. In the report, nobody believed she held position for over 30 hours. No fire, no fresh water, no evacuation. But the evidence was undeniable. Video surveillance confirmed her position. Ballistics matched her weapon. The eliminated target was a real threat assessment. How did you know? Asked the base commander. Lynn looked exhausted but calm. I saw patterns that didn't belong, heard sounds that weren't natural. When you spend 30 hours listening to Swamp, you learn what belongs and what doesn't. The investigation revealed the truth. The simulated enemy wasn't part of their exercise. It was a live fire assessment, a test within a test. Command wanted to see if their soldiers could identify real threats among fake ones. Most teams failed. They treated everything as simulation, ignored genuine dangers, focused only on obvious targets. Lynn was the only soldier who recognized the difference. She saved 8 lives, concluded the after-action report, without breaking radio silence, without compromising team position, without requesting backup. The team that had mocked her now stood at attention when she passed. They'd learned something important about judgment, about quiet competence, about the difference between confidence and arrogance. We thought she was weak because she didn't talk much, admitted the corporal. We thought loud meant strong. We were wrong. The base adopted new training protocols based on her methods: patience over speed, observation over action, precision over volume. She changed how we think about strength, noted their instructor. Real strength isn't about making noise, it's about making the shot that counts. But perhaps the most significant change was cultural. Soldiers stopped judging teammates by how much they spoke or how often they volunteered for attention. They learned to watch for different kinds of intelligence, different kinds of courage. Some people lead from the front, observed the base psychologist. Others lead by being exactly where they need to be, exactly when they need to be there. Lynn's method became known as 32 to 1 inches training. 32 hours of patience, observation, and preparation for one moment of decisive action. It wasn't just marksmanship training. It was a philosophy about when to act and when to wait. Most people are afraid of silence, Lynn explained to new recruits. They think silence means nothing is happening, but silence is where you hear everything. The enemy sniper she eliminated was later identified as part of a larger surveillance operation. Her single shot had prevented a security breach that could have compromised multiple training operations. She didn't just pass a test, realized the team leader. She prevented a real incident. While we were playing war games, she was fighting a real war. The distinction mattered. In their world, the difference between simulation and reality could mean the difference between going home and not going home. And Lynn had proven she could tell the difference. CTA Comment Act 3. If you've ever been helped by someone you never got to thank, type, I owe a debt. Lynn declined the offer to join the official team. I just want to learn enough and know I'm still accurate. In the following week, the team began using hand-drawn maps again, copied from Lynn's notebook. A small group started practicing breath control, simulating the 32 to 1 inches method, 32 hours undetected, one decisive shot. The team bulletin board had a new line. The only person who didn't practice shooting was the person who shot for real and saved the entire team. Her influence spread quietly through the base. Soldiers began studying patience alongside aggression. Learning when not to shoot was as important as learning when to shoot. She taught us that timing matters more than speed, observed a training sergeant. Anyone can pull a trigger fast. Few can wait for the right moment. The base mess hall changed too. Soldiers sitting alone weren't automatically labeled as antisocial. Some were studying, some were listening. Some were preparing for moments that required absolute focus. I used to think quiet people were weak, admitted a fellow recruit. Now I think they might be the strongest ones. They're just strong in a different way. Training scenarios became more complex. Soldiers had to identify real threats among simulated ones. They had to make decisions without perfect information. They had to trust their instincts over their instructions. Lynn changed our definition of leadership, noted the base commander. Leaders don't always have to be the loudest person in the room. Sometimes they're the person who sees what others miss. The psychological impact was profound. Soldiers stopped performing for attention and started preparing for effectiveness. Showing off became less important than showing up when it mattered. Before Lynn, we trained to impress instructors, explained a corporal. After Lynn, we trained to save lives. Different motivation, different results. New recruits heard her story during orientation, not as heroic legend, but as practical example. Real problems require real solutions. Sometimes the best solution is patient observation followed by precise action. She didn't become famous, concluded the base chaplain, but she became trusted. And in our line of work, trust is more valuable than fame. The swamp training exercise was permanently modified. Teams now had to demonstrate not just survival skills, but threat assessment capabilities. The difference between simulation and reality became part of the curriculum, and every graduating class learned about the soldier who waited 32 hours in the mud to take one shot that saved 8 lives. CTA Comment Act 4. Type, I will live kindly if you believe one forgotten person can still keep an entire team alive. She wasn't checked on by anyone. Nobody asked, do you need resupply? But she didn't need it because Lynn never left position. For 32 hours, she lay in cold mud, never moving more than 2 centimeters, never revealing location, just waiting for exactly one thing: enemy stepping over the line. And when it happened, she fired. One round, no shaking, no hesitation. In an era where people like to show off and speak too quickly, Lynn is a reminder. Accuracy isn't about speed, it's about timing. She wasn't a media hero. She didn't need her name recorded, but everyone who was there that day will never forget that hoarse voice crackling over radio in the silence when they hadn't yet seen what was happening. We judge others too quickly, then forget them just as fast. But there are some people who don't need to be trusted beforehand. They just need to be right at the right time. The lesson extends beyond military training. In any profession, any relationship, any crisis, there's value in the person who observes before acting, who waits for the moment that matters most. Patience is a tactical advantage, Lynn told new recruits. Everyone wants to do something. Few people know when to do nothing. Fewer still know when to do everything. Her story spread through military networks, then into civilian conversations. Parents shared it with children who felt overlooked. Employees shared it with colleagues who felt undervalued. Sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one paying the most attention, became a common observation in team meetings. The broader lesson resonated. Competence doesn't always announce itself. Expertise doesn't always seek recognition. Sometimes the most capable person is the one who doesn't need to prove they're capable. She showed us that heroism isn't always visible, reflected the base commander. Sometimes it's lying in mud for 32 hours so that others can walk home safely. In a world obsessed with immediate results and constant communication, Lynn represented something different: the power of patience, the wisdom of silence, the strength of being exactly where you need to be, exactly when you need to be there.
If you believe in stories that touch the heart like this, leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to LN Steel Heart Stories. We tell the stories that shouldn't be forgotten. Because sometimes, a single shot from the person forgotten longest is the reason you're still alive. Real people are creating and telling stories, not mass-produced AI.